That was horrible. Hello, everybody.
Hey, everyone.
This is me. My name is Derek.
And my name is Isaac.
Today, on That Was Horrorble, we are delving into the unknown.
Mm-hmm.
We are going deeper into the psyche. Because I just got back from the Lord of the Rings convention in Las Vegas, Nevada, in which the Blue Men were there. And I was a blue man among my fellow blue men. And Isaac was there among his fellow red men.
That's me. I was among my red men, yes.
And I was a blue man. How do you feel, red man?
Well, I feel angry and like my life is a mess and like I should go work the pole on my Saturday evenings.
And I, feeling blue, will write a book. And that book will be about you on your pole,
Titled
swinging as a never swung
Isaac.
before. What's up, everybody?
What's happening, everybody? You have tuned into That Was Horrorble. We're the best at reviewing the worst in the horror community. I can say that because who else is going to say that?
No one else is going to say that. Okay, so I was
What
thinking...
does it take to be able to call yourself the best?
Well, I mean, the world's best coffee exists at least 40 times. Like, that's a bit that, like, is very
It's just
common.
like how every author can be like New York best time-selling author, book, whatever like that, you know? It's like, you can have it for a second and then say it forever, you know?
It's true. So, here's my plan.
Use your plan.
First part of the plan, we change our voices to be, like, super deep and sexy.
Oh, okay,
So,
cool.
like,
I'm already on it.
here.
I think Derek's giving me a solid built-in excuse for the fact that I'm a little sick right now.
He's a little sick right now. I wasn't going to mention that, but he mentioned it himself.
It's fine. The people need to know.
But I felt like if I brought it down and I wasn't so up here, which is where you normally
That's
are.
usually where I talk.
So
I'm like SpongeBob.
If I'm down here, it's more bass tone.
Yeah, okay.
Which will lend itself very well to those with over-the-ear headphones.
Sounding like a demon now.
Less good for those with AirPods. Actually, I probably disappeared. So if you're wearing on AirPods right now, I just did a bit about how my voice was really low and you could hear me unless you were only wearing
couldn't hear him, so now you can hear him.
But then I'm going to talk so high that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. No,
I'm really...
You can say that on radio. That's... No, I'm just kidding.
Are you?
So if you couldn't muster from our strange...
We didn't say it.
Archaic... introduction.
We didn't say it.
This week we watched I Know Who Killed Me from 2007. Well, I guess you're going to have to find out, Derek. You're going to have to stick around to the end of the podcast.
I wish that in the trailer for this movie... So, if you watch the trailer for this movie, it gives away the entire movie. It's
like all of it in the trailer, basically. It basically just does not give you the ending of it.
Yeah.
And that's basically all you miss.
But, like, the trailer... Towards the end, she actually says, I know who killed me.
Yeah, like total name drop. I felt like Leonardo DiCaprio sitting there pointing at the TV.
Yeah, with the popcorn.
Yes.
Or he has a cup.
Something like that.
He has a cup.
I saw that movie once.
What movie was that?
That's
Titanic?
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Oh yeah, I saw that movie with the feet. I like
by Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah, that's right. We brought it back. Wait, what was I saying? You made me forget my bit.
I don't know.
I had a bit. Oh, yeah, I wish that towards the end of that trailer, when she's like, I know who killed me, I wish that the guy who was with her just started shaking her. Who was it?
Who did this to you?
Don't make me watch a 2-hour movie to find out.
It was like an hour and 45.
It felt longer.
It felt a bit long, right?
This is one of those movies that we're watching, and I find myself picking up my phone and going to social media and going, wait a minute, hold on, I'm making a podcast.
I did notice there was one point when, like, Derek, like, accidentally played a sound from, like, his phone or his computer. I was like, what's going on? He's like, no, nothing, I'm just, browsing.
I'm just doing research.
And it was in that moment that I'm like, Derek is not captivated by this movie.
Had checked out at a certain point, and that was bad. That does not good content make.
Yeah, that does. Checking out does not good content make.
Yeah, and then it just kept pulling me back in with all the blue. You know what I mean? So, this movie, I Know Who Killed Me, was made in 2007. And let me tell you, it stars Lindsay Lohan, but not Lindsay Lohan once, Lindsay Lohan twice.
Yes.
Because
you may have seen that happen a time or two before, you know.
It was The Parent Trap. Mm-hmm. There's The Parent Trap 2, actually.
Yeah, basically.
Is what this movie was. And honestly, not a spoiler. I don't know why I still worry about spoilers.
Yeah, exactly. I guess if you were listening to this, you were calling in for spoilers, right?
Do they call in?
Yeah, don't you? That's how podcasts work. You have to dial on your phone and sit there and listen. You can't pause it. You can't walk away from it.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
I dialed the number.
It finally worked, yeah.
That's not my ringtone.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Wrong movie.
Wrong movie. A little reference
to ourselves.
To ourselves. Yeah, so this stars Lindsay Lohan. Poor, sweet, wonderful Lindsay Lohan, who just has... I don't feel like the world's been good to her, and I don't really feel like she's been good to the world.
I don't honestly know where the world stands on her today in 2023. Like, what's everyone's stance? Why don't you call in and tell us how you feel about Lindsay Lohan?
Yeah. Oh, I got a call.
Oh, yeah?
Ring, 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 ring.
Hello?
Hi, yes, it's me, the Lindsay Lohan fanatic,
Hello.
75.
Hello, Lindsay. Sorry, hold on. Does that imply that they're 74 before you? Or are you just like the number? Were you born in 75?
Well, when I was on LindsayLohan.com and I was creating my username, I tried Lindsay Lohan fanatic, and then one and
it
then
was
two,
taken.
and then three, and then four. And
So
finally,
the Lindsay Lohan
75.
fanatics are many.
And I think I may be the last one, so there may just be 75 of us.
Okay.
But that's
Did you
all right.
kill the rest of them?
That's for me to know, and here come the police, so I don't have very much time.
Okay, yes. Just quick,
So,
tell us.
What I was going to tell you, she's just not done a lot.
Yikes.
I mean, back in the day when she was in, like, the Scary Movie, remember that?
I forgot about that.
She was in Scary Movie 5, which... Why were there 5 of those? Also, she was in that one with the with the car,
The Herbie
fully loaded.
Yeah,
and me being such a big fanatic, I know all of this, absolutely.
Yeah, just off the top of your head.
Freaky Friday, obviously, and Mean Girls.
Wow.
She was in Mean Girls.
She was
Remember
in
that?
King of the Hill?
She was in King of the... She played Jenny Medina.
One episode.
In 2004. Very cool. But lately, all she's been doing is going to rehab. I'm pretty sure.
Listen, we support that. That's probably a good thing, right?
Oh, she was in a new movie in 2022 called Falling for Christmas.
Oh, that's right. It was that Netflix special one, right?
It's like one level above Hallmark movie.
Just slightly
It's like if Hallmark had an extra 0 at the end of the paycheck. That's what made this movie.
Well, thank you for your time, Lindsay Lohan fanatic 75. I think the police will take you away now.
The line went blank.
Oh no!
I didn't even hear him say goodbye.
You think she's okay?
No.
Well, that's okay.
Hopefully people didn't get murdered.
I'm sure she's fine. Yeah, she's fine.
Hey, here's one thing about Lindsay Lohan.
Yeah,
you know how there's like that star meter on IMDb? It's like top 5,000 people.
I did not know.
Oh, really?
Did not know that was a thing.
It's like what people are talking about, like what actresses and actors are being like looked up.
Now?
Yeah, like who's hot right now. It's really terrible. We shouldn't rate people, but she's in the top 5,000, and her ranking is going up.
Okay, she's at 228 right now.
Maybe. No, that's 228 higher than what she was.
Are you sure?
I haven't paid for this, man. I don't.
There's a subscription you have to pay for to see this?
Maybe I should. Very unprofessional of me.
Wow, that's terrible.
Sorry, listeners. Here, let's find somebody else who's on the star rank. Probably, Jeffrey Epstein?
Come on.
Jeff Goldblum?
Jeff Goldblum?
Let's see
where he sits.
But there's no way...
That she's above Lindsay.
Oh,
no way Lindsay Lohan's above him.
What's Chris Pratt's name?
It's probably Chris Pratt, I would say, yeah.
Mario.
15.
So he's the top 500, and he's going down. So I'm assuming that the number down... I'm assuming that's...
I think that just means he's lower than he was. So I think he's down status, 15. But that's lower than he was.
Oh, okay.
So he's on the decline. Lohan's on the uprise.
Who's number 1?
I know. I'm curious. Now I want to know.
Is Bradley Cooper?
It couldn't be Bradley Cooper.
No, he's
13.
Yeah, he's higher than Chris.
He's higher.
Chris Pratt.
Who is the number 1 right now? Look up Paul Rudd. Paul Rudd's great.
Well, I'm just looking up star meter.
Let's find out.
I'm just gonna look. Ana de Armas. Wait,
Armas.
what? No.
That couldn't be.
No way. I mean, she's great, but there's no way.
I guess
that
we'll
it's
find
her.
I mean,
I didn't pay for this, remember? Tony Scott. Who the heck is this guy?
He's a director.
That doesn't even make sense.
What?
Well, we know he's
below
number 1,
him is Jennifer Lawrence. So this man is above Jennifer Lawrence.
It's not right anymore.
Oh, okay. Now he's at 684.
I still don't know who this man is.
No.
He produced Get Santa. Okay, I'm probably offending somebody. I know somebody out there, Tony Scott, Ridley Scott's brother, who is dead.
Oh, no, he died in 2012.
What is happening?
Oh, okay, how old is this? Derek, this list is from 2012. Oh, my God.
Okay, so...
I told you to throw away the time machine.
Okay, that's really sad. He was, I'm sure, a great guy.
I'm sure he was great. Okay, we're so far off topic.
Far away. Yeah,
Tell me about this movie. Let's get into that.
I really want to know. I'm
This
going to
is
find
always
out.
where we
I'll come
lose
back.
you, when you give you access to the internet to keep looking into what stars are up to these days.
It's always the what are they up to
Yeah,
now?
exactly. So Lindsay Lohan is in it. What else can we know about this movie?
Well, I'm still clicking things, man. I really want to know. Well, we'll find out later, and I'll get back with you. I'll send everybody an email who listens to this episode. Subscribe to our email.
Yes. We'll start a mailing list. So what is the Rotten Tomatoes score? Let's start there.
What a great idea for a podcast.
It's profound thinking, right?
We should probably... Okay. I Know Who Killed Me, 2007, was written and directed by two different people, which is a great sign.
Good start.
It was written by Jeff Hammond and Chris Syvertson. The Rotten Tomatoes score for this is 9 for the critics.
Pretty low.
26 for the audience.
Not that much higher.
Not that much higher. Letterboxd is sitting at a 1.8. Metacritic is a 16 with a 3.1 for the audience, which is pretty rough.
Yeah.
IMDb is at 3.6.
Yeah.
This movie,
so all on the low end. Definitely a movie that qualifies for this podcast.
you could say that it's lower than 50.
Yeah, I would say that. Lower than 30 even.
You could even say it's lower than 20.
But I would not say lower than 5.
Why not?
It's just numerically inaccurate, that's all.
Well, but it could be lower than like if every number counted as 10.
What? What are you saying?
This movie had a budget of $12 million. And
you know what's funny is we keep doing these and you keep telling me these numbers. I don't know what is a lot and what isn't a lot. Is
I
that
don't
a
know
lot?
anymore. It feels like a lot to me.
Right?
I mean, in comparison to like the other movies
Like
we've watched.
I know millions are a lot of money, but like I don't really,
Yeah,
I haven't paid enough attention to be like 12 million. Is that high ball, low ball? I'm not even sure.
I mean, let's look at something. Let's look at, like, for example,
Children
Alien.
of the Corn. Okay, well that's
Right? Well, but you could look at it like the budget for Alien was $11 million in 1979.
Back then, but
which would have been
today's-
about $55 million.
Okay,
That
so this
a
was
bad
on the
example.
low. But also, Alien is like high.
Well, let's look at
end.
Alone in the Dark.
Okay, that's a bit better.
Whoa, this is what my notes used to look like. I've updated my notes, and this is what they used to look like.
Everything is crazy.
I can't read that. No one should be required to read that.
No. So like a ghost ship?
Yeah, Ghost Ship had $20 million budget.
Okay, so like this is a little lower than that. That's so I can see this. That tracks for these two movies.
Are you okay now? Can I move on?
No, I'm good now.
Or do you need to like know more about the
No, I'm okay now. I know everything I need to know.
I want like someone out there program me a program so I can like you know how in video games when you get two different items and they have the stats and it has like a green arrow for up and
one is
red
better
arrow
than
for
the
down.
other, yeah.
I want that for like budgets. I want every movie we've ever done like in a line.
So you can just compare the two like that?
I got some time later. I'll go through and make an Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah, sure. Just program up a little Excel spreadsheet.
Boop, boop. This movie grossed $9.7 million, which you may notice is less than $12 million.
It is lower than that number. We're good at math today.
How much of that $12 million do you think went to Lindsay Lohan?
Probably a decent amount.
I would say like $8 million.
And how much of that do you think went to like the legal funds for problems she was having?
Another $8 million. So this movie cost $16 million.
Definitely. Just for her alone.
Just for her alone. All right. So the director, Chris Syvertson, he is not done anything. I mean, he's done things, but not like a lot of things, right? He's only directed 12 things. He did direct that new movie Monstrous, which I heard was just fine.
Okay.
I saw that movie, got excited that it was going to be bad enough for this podcast, and it wasn't. That's where we're sitting now.
Aw, so sad.
He also did something called All Cheerleaders Die.
No, is that another horror?
Yeah, that's definitely
That's a horror comedy.
Comedy horror.
Okay, cool.
This movie looks like it was recorded on someone's cell phone.
Yeah.
So yeah, not a lot. The one I want to focus on though is Jeff Hammond, the guy who wrote this movie.
Yeah, because he's written so much since then, right?
He is such an established writer. He's just written this movie. He has no other credits whatsoever.
Did the one and got out.
Wait, is he a NASCAR driver?
What?
Hold on.
Hold on. He's Jeff Hammond the 6th.
Jeff Hammond the 6th.
Yeah, that's...
I don't know if they're the same person.
There's a couple of them.
Jeff Hammond 6.
I mean, there's a... Jeff Hammond 6.
NASCAR?
I mean,
there's no way this is
there
the same
is a
man.
NASCAR commentator.
There's no way that this is the same man.
Can you imagine?
I want it to be so, but nah, it's not the same guy.
All
no,
right.
But my headcanon for this movie to make sense, it was written by a race car driver.
I mean, they could be related in some way. There are 6 of them.
Maybe they're related. Okay, so that's probably enough about Jeff Hammond and his motorcycles that he rides.
I think they're cars. I think it literally explicitly says in the name, it's not NAS motorcycles. NASCAR.
Why not? NAS cycle.
NAS cycle.
Like NAS cycle. So, this movie was nominated and won a bunch of things, dude. This is our highest winning thing ever.
Yeah, but not in the good sense.
Why not?
Because, just list off some of what these awards
I'm going to list them all, dog. So it had 8 wins and 4 nominations for the Razzies. So it actually, at the time, was the record holder for the most won Razzies.
Yeah, which was later broken in 2011 by Jack and Jill, which won 10.
So I guess it only held that record for a year. But as in being the best coffee in the world, 1 year is a decade.
That's true, yes.
So it was the worst picture of the decade.
Wow.
Worst actress of the decade for Lindsay Lohan. Worst picture, worst actress, worst supporting actress, worst screen couple, worst remake or ripoff. Wait, what?
Remake?
It says it was a ripoff of Hostel, Saw, and the Patty Duke Show.
Well, I don't know about that.
Me neither, but you know what? It won the award for that one.
All
so
right.
I guess it was definitely the remake side.
Yeah.
The ripoff side, not the remake side. Because, it's not really... I guess maybe one scene in the movie could be like Saw,
bit,
but not...
Yeah.
What is the Patty Duke Show?
I have no idea.
Will you Google the Patty Duke Show while I list these?
We'll figure that out.
Chris Syverson won Worst Director, and Jeff Hammond won Worst Screenplay. And this is my favorite win, I think, ever. I think this is the greatest award that's ever been given to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Worst excuse for a horror movie.
Oh, boy. If I wrote this movie, I, too, would never write another movie again.
I think he did the right thing. He did the right thing.
Yeah.
So, did you find anything on the Patty Duke Show? It's looking like the
Patty Duke Show is another thing about twins, something like that.
This movie wasn't about twins.
Just like how the Parent Trap was.
Was it?
Or was it?
All right, so that's all I have.
Shall we talk about our expectations?
Every time you do that, I laugh a little less.
You let me do it every time. You can simply stop me at any point.
No, I love it. I want you to keep doing it because by episode 100, I will laugh so little at that bit that I'm gonna inhale so much air and explode.
So you're saying in 100 episodes you'll want to die from my funny bit?
I don't know why that was so weird to hear. What are your expectations?
So for me, I wrote, this will be a very risque role for Lindsay Lohan to really, show her departure from the Disney lifestyle, because that's, where she'd done pretty much all of her stuff up until this movie. This was, her first, R-rated movie, very mature themes, all that kind of stuff, right? So I felt like I would really feel that throughout this. They might kind of push that on us just because, she's not in Disney anymore. She's with us, the raunchy adults of America. Ugh. I just wrote the dad probably did it. He just seemed weirdly suspicious in the trailer for it. I said, I will see nothing new thanks to the trailer that gave away 95% of the movie.
Absolutely.
Because it showed pretty much everything except the ending. Maybe a good performance from Miss Lohan. I don't know why. I was like, maybe she'll pull through in this one. Maybe this is where she'll shine, and then just lots of flashing lights and quick cuts, kind of like they used that font in the trailer again, and we found out what the name of it. It's called X-Band Rough. Is that, you wouldn't steal a car font.
Lindsay Lohan.
Now we know. X-Band Rough is that one. So, I kind of expected that vibe.
Lindsay
Lohan.
Lindsay Lohan.
What's your expectations, Derek?
Some real bad parent acting, especially from that trailer. Because you went with he's the murderer. I went with this man's never acted a day in his life.
Yeah,
but he's a well-known actor.
Yeah, he's kind of well-known.
He's been in stuff. I recognized his face. Lindsay Lohan taking the entire budget and ruining the rest of the movie for everybody else. A far-fetched twist that will be spoiled in the trailer, like she has multiple personalities or is a twin, because they talked about that a bunch in the trailer.
Indeed.
Early 2000s music that is just too much, man. Again, that's another thing that I got from the trailer, right? That the music was just so in my face already. Cheap, intense scares because they ran out of money for Lindsay Lohan. Yep. So they're like, okay, what's a $10 scare we can give? And that's it.
Yeah, so that's us.
Shall we begin? Do you have any idea, Isaac, how hard it is for me to not do the, okay, that was a great episode bit. I think anytime we finish a section, I've done it like so many times I can't do it anymore.
I thought you were about to say it's so hard for me to not say, let's dive in.
Also that.
That too.
But like every time we finish a section, I'm like, all right, guys, thanks for being there.
Let's wrap it up. Thanks, everybody.
All right, let's talk about this movie.
Let's dive in.
Oh, it's red!
Oh, it's
Everything's
all
red.
Yes, meet stripper Lindsay Lohan. Right off the bat, my expectation was met where I'm like, oh yeah, they're definitely really pushing adult Lindsay Lohan on us because she's in all this red lighting and she is a stripper. You see boobs pretty quick, but not hers, just some other lady at the club, right?
Yep.
And as she's like leaning, she's what am I trying to say? Coming down the pole, right, with one hand up on top of it,
essentially riding the pole to the ground.
Essentially riding the pole to the ground. That's good.
I'm gonna write that down.
That's
in the
it.
Book.
And then so as she's making her way down, there is blood
Walking
trickling
fast.
from the top of blood trickling from the top of her hand. It's like, okay, cool. I don't know where this is going. And there were like spooky whispers all around that.
It was interesting. That part was kind of cool.
It was kind of neat. I did enjoy that. And then that scene's over, and now we're at school with Lohan, which I could never actually decide if she was in college or in high school. It wasn't really that obvious to me.
It didn't establish anything.
No, they weren't in school for that long, right? But yeah, she was in school reading a short story that sounded like it was about somebody having an identity crisis, which felt a little on the nose for me based on what we saw in the trailer.
So on the nose. Immediately they're pushing that.
Because I think all I can remember from what she was saying about it was like, it always felt like I was not a whole person. Like maybe there was another half of me, right? I was like, okay, you're really kind of pushing this. And guess what? They do that for the entire goddamn movie.
The entire movie, even at the end. They literally never stop.
The entire movie is trying to shove this idea at you about the split personalities, two different worlds, and they specifically use two different colors for it.
Two worlds, one Lohan.
We will get there.
Trust. Okay, one thing that happened through this entire movie, too, is everything being shoved down your throat.
Everything.
Like,
nothing was subtle. Subtlety went out the window. Subtlety was on vacation for this entire movie.
Subtlety was a twin sister that lived a continent away and didn't exist.
And lived a very different life.
It was so rough. Like, so immediately in the first scene, we're greeted with all the red. And then we jump into here and everything is blue.
Everything that could be blue is blue.
Yes. And
it's like all of the football players' uniforms that go to the school, college or high school, whatever it is. Her outfits, there's just blue everything all over the place.
It's either someone was so down and so depressed that they colored everything, or it's the thing that happened when I was a little kid. You remember when I was
Was it your blue period?
Yeah, no. So, yeah.
So little Derek,
little Derek, he's like, his mom walks him into his new bedroom and says, okay, honey, this is your new room. What color do you want it? And I said, I don't know, Mom. She said, well, let's make it a color that makes you feel good. And I was like, okay, blue. And so we painted the whole room blue, and I'll never forget that.
Did you regret it, or was that a good choice?
No, I was happy all the time.
Okay, good. Very nice.
That's not true.
Derek had a perfectly happy childhood. No problems
End
whatsoever.
of story. I don't have any problems.
So Lohan goes to her house, and she's at like a little piano lesson from this dude, right? And it's funny because like there was a shot of somebody with their hands on the piano playing the whole thing. Then it cuts to a shot of just her face. I'm like, she's definitely not playing that piano.
Yeah.
And then Derek chimes in. He's like, no, she learned how to pole dance for this movie, not play the piano.
It's true.
Yeah, I mean, it really was, honestly. But so she's being taught piano lessons by this dude. He's talking to her about, like, you seem very distracted lately, and she really wants to quit. And he's kind of an asshole to her.
Yeah, he is.
He's like, hey, watch this hand. And he puts up his right hand and just plays the piano a little bit. He's basically like, do better.
Yeah. Doesn't he say something like, see how easy this is? Yeah. See how easy that was?
How easy? It's like, okay, asshole,
right,
you're like, you've practiced for years and years, you teach students, like, yeah, of course you're gonna do better than hers. What did that prove at all?
But also, like, what he played wasn't even that impressive. It was just like a little lick, and that's it.
I know, it's like the same vibe as somebody like who shreds on a guitar, except he did not shred anything.
It's like he went into a guitar center and picked up a guitar, played Stairway to Heaven, and then they were like, wow, you're so cool.
Yeah, but she's like, I'm just not into it. I really want to like put all my efforts into like being a writer. And then the next scene, we see her in her room, and they really want you to know she's a writer. She's sitting there at her laptop. On her wall, there are post-it notes about like Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. Yeah. And it's like, oh, okay, so she wrote that bit that she was reading the beginning, I guess. But it's like, she writes, right? That's like her big thing. And it's like, it was like kind of pushed on us, but I don't really feel like they got that deep into it or even about what she's writing about.
Yeah, no.
Basically, all I could assume was like, it feels like what she's writing will become the story of her life. Like that was my assumption at this point. And then another thing with Blue, she meets up with like this guy who is her boyfriend, but is not. I couldn't really tell.
Yeah, I don't think they were. I think they just gone on a date or something.
But he brought her a blue rose, which also, where the fuck can you find blue roses?
Especially not roses that... I mean, I've seen blue roses before, but not like this.
Yeah, it was like
These
a huge,
roses
nice,
were spray painted.
Yeah, exactly.
Before
Could not have been. But yeah, he brings one to her. I'm like, okay, cool. There's another blue thing for some reason, right?
Yeah.
And like for some reason at that point, I was like, okay, it feels like the color blue is about to become very important to this in this thing. And I don't know if important is necessarily the word, but like important to them. They certainly thought it was important.
Was it ever important?
I don't know.
Is the question I have.
That's true.
Because
this begs the question.
Every time I close my eyes, see the color blue now. And I feel like I'm going to be this way for the rest of my life.
Yep, you're stuck this way. But blue makes you happy, so it's okay.
Well.
So then word breaks out while they're in class that a girl died. Yeah.
Jennifer Toland.
Yeah, Jennifer Tolman was killed. And they tell you that 15 different times.
And never kindly.
Yeah. And it's never like, oh, we lost a dear soul today. It's like Jennifer Tolman's body was found. Like, such a weird way to discuss it, right?
It was very upsetting. Because, they're at a football game. And over the loudspeaker, they're like, Jennifer Toland's body was found earlier this week. Let's all bow our heads. I'm like, okay, hold on. You have a group full of people, a stadium full of people.
Yes.
All getting ready to watch the big game. And you're like, hey, we found this lady's body. Not like our friend, our dear friend.
Exactly, right? Because that's the thing. Like, I understand paying homage to this terrible thing that happened to them, right? But you can bring it up in a much softer way instead of like the gruesomeness of like a body was found. Like,
exactly.
That's so sad.
To me,
that's not going to build up morale at all.
It felt like the writers were like, the writer was like, let's push this as hard as we physically can that she was found. She is a body that has been found. Yes. And I was uncomfortable with that. I was like, okay.
Also, there was a weird moment that happened after the scene where Lindsay Lohan goes back home, and there's a dude who's doing like yard work at her house.
I completely forgot
about him because he never became relevant after this scene.
Yeah, but it was really creepy.
Yeah, she was getting out of her car, and he's like kind of like trying to like, smooth her up, so he's like taking off his shirt. He's got this weird tattoo that goes over his nipple.
Yeah.
And then he's like holding this piece of wood like it's his dick or something. He
was stroking the top of the wood.
And for a second, it's like, oh, is she into this? And then she just flips him off and runs away. And that's like the only scene that man is used for.
I completely forgot about that.
I forgot about that until I saw my notes right now. I'm like, why was that necessary at all?
Because I thought that he was one of the 10 people who was pretty sure was going to be the killer.
There were so many times where I was like, maybe it's gonna be this person. And that kind of like, I felt like this movie was going to throw us a lot of red herrings. And that really, for me, it begged the question, like, can a movie have too many red herrings where like, it seems like they're almost trying to cover their bases so nobody can figure it out? Because it's like, it feels like they don't have the confidence in their script writing abilities to be like, we have a clever enough like twist and villain in this movie that like, they'll never figure it out, right? Instead, they're like, let's throw 10 different people out that could be the killer just so like we can still pretend we did a good idea right? At the very end of it, right?
Yeah.
But it was strange, and like it just felt like there were several moments in this movie where it got weirdly unnecessarily horny for no reason. It was just happened for a scene and then we were on to the rest of the movie. I'm like, all of those scenes could have either been shorter or not in it at all. And this weird yard working guy taking off his shirt could have not been.
It didn't need to be there.
Absolutely,
it was just a way to like sexualize someone because they didn't have enough ways to sexualize Lindsay Lohan.
Yeah.
So they're like, okay, let's just sexualize everyone around her.
So then we're at the football game, right? Again, college, high school, can't tell. But there's a weird effect going on where you compared it to what was it, like Schindler's List?
Oh, yeah.
Where everything is in black and white except for the things that are blue.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's a lot of things on the screen.
Yeah, so it doesn't really work.
No,
it just looks
exactly.
like the blue is super, super exposed and then everything else is just black and white.
And they only used that maybe one other time in the movie.
But it was
a strange
so
effect to just throw in there.
I hated it.
It felt like somebody watched Schindler's List and they're like, that was a cool effect, let's add that.
It was to the point... Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It was to this point that I was positive the blue was going to be a plot point.
Right.
And I guess it kind of
in a sense, but it was kind of trying to subtly tell us another thing. It was just not subtle in the slightest.
So annoying. It was so in your face.
Quite obnoxious. But yeah, so then at the football game, after the football game, the town's in some frenzy, like it's Mardi Gras or something. Like everyone's partying and cheering, woohoo, all about that. I don't know why they're going nuts for like what I assume is either a high school or college football game.
College would make more sense.
College a little
I really
bit.
feel like they were in high school.
Yeah, right? I kind of felt that way. But either way, it was so strange to me.
I felt like they were in high school because they were in like a chemistry class or a biology class.
Yeah.
And they were doing the whole frog surgery thing, which is usually a high school thing. So I don't know.
Yeah, but it was a lot. But like the whole town got trashed that night. But then Aubrey, our main girl, Lindsay Lohan, went missing. And now we see she's tied up and she's getting drugged somewhere. She's got, guess what? A blue gag in her mouth.
And then he puts a blue pill in her mouth.
Blue pill in it. Everything is blue. Guess what? The tools, the knives, and everything he's using to cut her up in this kind of long torture sequence that gets broken up by other things.
It was rough.
They're all blue. They're like all this like blue glass knives. It was kind of neat. But he pulls out some dry ice.
Yeah.
I'm like, ooh, that's gonna hurt. What's funny though is at this point right here, he pulls out the dry ice. And then it cuts away back to like the parents who were like, oh no, my daughter's missing, right? So at this point I was like, I don't think this movie's gonna show us any of the killing or the gore on screen.
Yeah, I was with you there.
Because it always cut away before anything actually happened. Because even when the first girl died, the Jennifer Tolman, it like, the screen just went black, you heard a girl scream and then like a nasty thump. I forgot that even happened.
I also forgot that happened.
So up to this point, I was like, they're gonna keep it safe with all the gore and all that kind of stuff. But so yeah, then it cuts away from her torture, and we meet the parents, who we've never seen her interact with in one scene in this movie. Suddenly they're there, and they're not the best actors in the movie.
They tried.
I think they were the ones that really pulled me away from it all. Like I just didn't really feel like they had any real connection to this daughter they were supposed to care about for the rest of the movie.
No, yeah.
But yeah, so then we come back to the torture. She's lost a lot of blood, and then her fingers are stuck basically in like this like press, like either side of her hand is pressed into this dry ice, right? Her fingers are turning blue and black almost.
And you have to be impressed with the prosthetics that they used here.
It was pretty nasty.
It was pretty realistic.
Because then
looking.
the killer starts pulling them off, and some skin comes up off of it too. It was nasty. I was like, ooh. And it was at that point that I was like, maybe I was wrong about the gore.
Yeah, maybe just a little bit.
Maybe I was not right about that one. But then, guess what? He pours some weird blue liquid on the wounds. Again, all blue.
Everything
all of
blue.
the torture
Blue
devices are blue. It's so strange for me. But then cut away from it again. The hunt is on to try to find Aubrey. Now the FBI is involved in this because like they're trying to figure out like maybe these kills are connected with each other, right?
Maybe.
But then we find, okay, so at this point, the torture scene is done because some woman is driving down the road. She swerves to not hit like a fox or something, happens to go right into the, right next to the spot where Aubrey's body was just dumped on the side of the road. Mm-hmm. And so she finds her like, okay, cool. So she's alive. She's in the hospital now.
We should mention that it may have been jarring that this girl was kidnapped or is now being tortured, but it was jarring for us too.
Yes.
Like it never showed it. Mm-mm. It was just like she was walking through the street. There's a creepy guy in a car. Like you kind of see him, but I think it was the guy from the beginning who like took his shirt off.
No, maybe. Oh, yeah, you're right. Because he was driving his pickup truck.
He was driving his pickup truck, yeah. And so we were like, oh,
and then that red herring was gone forever.
And then and he kept driving. He never came back.
Nope.
And
just like my dad.
And yep, I saw your dad yesterday. And then all of a sudden, she is now in a table getting tortured.
Yeah.
For no reason. And then just as quickly, she's now on the side of the road.
Yeah. So you never see her get dropped off or anything like that, which is like fine, but like, yeah, it all happened pretty quick, kind of jarring, right? Yeah. So she gets into the hospital and she is now missing a hand, like past like the wrist, like pretty deep down, and then also her foot. Mm-hmm. Both of those have been severed off, both on her like the right side of her body.
Yeah.
And so she is now in the hospital, all cut up to bits, and she doesn't know who she is.
Yes.
Yeah, she claims she's
calling herself Dakota.
Well, actually, no, she does know who she is. She claims she's Dakota now, not Aubrey. And she is like, she doesn't seem confused about that at all. She is like 100% like, you guys are talking about a different person. I may look like this girl. I am Dakota. I am not Aubrey 100%, you know? So like, that's the way. And so it was at this point that I'm like, okay, so what they're doing is they're trying to give us like, there is the blue life that was Aubrey, right? And then red must be Dakota, this character who we saw at the beginning in the strip club, right?
Right.
So it's like, okay, so this is how we're going to differentiate between the two of those. It is not subtle at all.
No, it is not.
Just shoving it down our throats the whole time.
But even this room is completely blue.
Yeah.
We got to mention.
Yeah, everything that she's in. Like, and they keep trying to shove blue onto her, right?
Yeah. And then she's talking to the psychiatrist, and he has
God, I love this.
He had on his notepad 2 different names.
Yeah, he had one of those like
girl.
4-color pens,
and then
he could change between the colors.
And then he switched blue and red between Dakota and
So when she starts telling, because he had some notes, and he was like, oh yeah. Then when she starts being like, you should call me my real name. My name's Dakota. Also, Dakota's kind of an asshole.
Oh yeah,
she's a very very kind of like very different from Aubrey, who was a lot nicer. But yeah, as soon as she starts talking as Dakota, switches over to the other side. Now we're writing in red,
And
which
now now we're writing with ink.
subtleties on vacation, my man.
Yeah, subtlety wasn't even a.
But she's
idea.
got a hell of a backstory. It takes the whole typical, like, my dad was a crack dealer and my mom OD'd and I lived in this terrible rundown house, found my mom as she OD'd on pills, left me nothing but $11. Like, I've had a real rough childhood. Like, it just felt very much like an inexperienced writer would write a story about a person who's had a rough life, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's kind of what it's feeling like right now. I'm like, okay, so maybe what this is because of the trauma of going through so much torture and stuff like that, right? Aubrey has receded into this made-up world that she's created of Dakota, right? Maybe because she was a writer, that makes sense, right? So it kind of felt like that was the case, right? Like, that's why the story was so rough to be... It's funny. It's not funny, but it's,
I guess the reason I knew that it couldn't be this is because of how hard it was pushing it, right?
Yes.
Because everyone wanted you to believe she had multiple personality disorder.
Yes.
Or
That's another
DID.
thing. The reason they pushed it, because they pushed it so hard, made me less likely to believe it, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think it did the opposite of what they intended.
And it's the same way with every man in this movie seemed extremely guilty.
Always. Every man had some secret something going on.
And so it was very hard to, it was very hard to decide who I was actually nervous about.
Yes. Again,
and I don't think I was nervous about anybody.
Again, too many red herrings.
Yeah, exactly.
It takes away from,
too many blue herrings.
Too many blue herrings, too many blue and red,
Yeah.
But so the FBI are involved in this now because they're trying to connect these murders, right? They're kind of being assholes to her.
I hated them.
They're very, they're not very, they don't really help her very much, right?
No.
They're not aiding her at all. They're not, very kind about the fact that she was just tortured. She's missing 2 limbs, right? All they want to know is, why are you hiding information from us? You know things. You tell me.
They were actually yelling this at her, which, if they thought that she had DID,
yes.
If they thought that she had another personality that was manifesting,
tread way lighter on this thing, right?
They would understand that is a defense mechanism, right? That is the mind creating something to protect the main host mind,
at this
right?
point, they just simply don't believe her. They're like, she's crazy, whatever.
That's so stupid. It made me very,
but
very
they think
mad.
she's withholding information from them. But she remembered a decent amount, and she kind of told them a little bit about it. And then we kind of get Red Aubrey's life story. Robbery. Red Coda.
In my notes, I called her Blue Hand and Red Hand.
Blue Hand. Red Hand. For Lohan.
Yeah, for Lohan.
Lindsay Red Hand. But so there's, she talks about how, what happened to her, what she can remember, right? So she was doing her job at the strip club, right? We get a very long sequence of her doing this pole dancing routine at the club.
Oh my God.
It is so long.
Why?
Unnecessary. So long that they finish one song, go into a second song to do more dancing routine, right?
It was so stupid. But something real cool happened.
Oh yeah.
Something real cool
Was
happened.
it real cool? If you're talking about what I think you're talking about.
She took some guy's cigarette and put it against her vagina and then smoked it and then gave it back to him. And then he sniffed it.
Oh, that was too much for me.
Hey, I have a real quick question. Why did that happen?
I hated it.
Why did that happen?
It was terrible.
Why did that have to happen?
I despised it. So it's so long, but then the only important thing happens in the scene. Often, the way back of the club, she can see in the darkness this man sitting there with a baseball cap, looking like he's probably the killer, right?
Again.
Yeah, exactly.
Another guy.
So that's
probably just some guy.
Yeah. So then she, after she's done with her shift, she's waiting at the bus stop. She sees him in the distance, right?
Yeah.
And he moves kind of supernaturally fast between the two locations.
Okay, but I loved this.
Yeah.
I genuinely love
There's a bit where she's waiting at the bus stop. She sees him in the distance under the light of a street light. And as a car passes him, he was already lit up from the street light, but the car lights him up a little bit more. But then when it passes by, he's gone, completely enveloped in the shadow.
Holy crap, I just understood this scene.
Oh.
Keep talking.
Okay, yeah.
I'll come back to it at the end.
Yeah,
exactly. It's kind of a spoiler.
But so he disappears. Then she kind of looks away. Then right next to her at the bus stop, he's sitting right on the other side of the glass, right?
Yeah.
And guess what? The glass is blue. Figures, right? There's some red graffiti on it.
But he's also kind of blue.
I'm curious how this movie would look if we watch it with those 3D glasses, the red and the blue effect.
We would see ghosts.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, so basically the FBI are being assholes to her. They don't believe she's giving them all the information she can. She's going through a lot right now.
So much.
But it was at this point that I wrote, her acting is not that bad. It's not fantastic by any means, but it's way better than I was expecting it to be. It does still feel like it's Disney movie caliber of acting, right?
Yeah.
The way she would deliver some of her lines, even when she would say fuck to them, right? I was like, it still feels like a Disney movie, the way
It felt
she's acting
wrong
things, right?
that she was saying those things.
Yeah. So then moving forward, Aubrey has a fit in the night. Her arm starts bleeding just in the middle of it. Just like,
This is still like, oh, wait. No, so like when she gets in the bus, her hand's like all severed. Did you talk about that?
No, that's later. We haven't gotten to that point
Hey,
yet.
that didn't happen yet.
I mean, technically it has happened, but not in that flashback right there.
You're right.
But so she's sitting there at night, and you see her arm laid out, and then like the crook of like her elbow right here on the front part of your arm, I guess, it just starts bleeding. A pool of blood starts coming up out of it, right? And she's having flashbacks about it, and then we can see clearly the killer must be some kind of glass blower, because like he's got this big fire next to him. He's got these weird like those blue orb glass bowl things that are like hanging from little ropes hanging from the ceiling. He's got all those blue weapons. So it's like, okay, clearly he crafts his own things, right? So he's some kind of glass blower.
It looked like
and I thought that might be a clue.
It looked like all the meth from Breaking Bad.
Yeah, but turned into weapons. Turned into weapons and stuff. Derek mentioned at this point, her prosthetic looks pretty good. And I was like, there's some shots I can tell it like it's probably CGI, but the either prosthetic or CGI was pretty good. Like, it actually looked very believable. It didn't look that bad at all.
For her stumps.
But then immediately after we say this, she gets a robot hand.
Yes.
Some dude comes in and is like, hey, it's the latest in our technology. You get this cool robot hand. And I was like, okay, I thought the stump looked pretty good, but I'm actually kind of into this idea. I could rock with her rocking this cool robot hand. Immediately puts on this weird flesh-colored rubber glove to cover up the robot hand.
It looked like, so you ever done dishes at a restaurant?
Yeah.
You know, like those big turbo yellow gloves? That's what it looked like, just flesh colored.
Yeah, so I'm like, okay, cool. Guess we'll just cover up the cool robot hand, forget everything we just said about how cool the prosthetic looked. Because now, for like most of the scenes afterwards, you just see her in like, I'm sure her regular hand is just under this fleshy glove. I'm like, man, I liked just having the stump
Robot hand
there.
was dope.
And robot hand was kick ass, right? I thought it was kind of cool.
And then apparently they discussed this. I missed it. There was like discussion of her getting a robot leg as well.
Which is weird, because like I feel like, again, I don't know anything about the prosthetics world, but I don't feel like there's not of like robotics necessary, battery charged robotics that are needed to use that kind of thing.
I don't know either, man.
But so yeah, he reminded her, he's like, just make sure to plug them in at the end of the night. I thought she was talking about her hand, because like clearly it was like fully articulated. That made sense for it to be charged, right? But the foot didn't make as much sense to me. And that was the only thing throughout the movie that she kept forgetting to charge. Her hand was fine. She had the hand for the rest of the movie. Which for me just really felt like a cheap cop-out to get out of using the stump or using a robot hand. They're like, let's just cover her hand up and we'll be fine, right? So it was very strange to me. I was kind of sad to get rid of that cool effect, right?
So it does seem like they do have like robot prosthetics, but they're...
Hey, hold on. I think somebody else would like to tell us about this, don't you think?
Knock, knock. Oh, yeah, sorry, it's
You
me.
can't even knock for real?
It's me, Science Jim.
Hello, Science Jim. Welcome in.
So, in my research about robot prosthetics, it seems like they do have them, but they're not. The technology isn't quite there. It seems like it's a little bit too hard to maintain. The battery life on them is hard to maintain. So yes, you would have to charge it,
right? If
you did have them, but they don't look anywhere near like a real leg. They look like gears and robotness.
Yeah.
And it's great that it is moving forward, but they're extremely pricey. They wouldn't give them to some random girl in some random town.
Well, I don't know. It was kind of established her family has kind of got money.
But from where?
Yeah,
anyway, I didn't watch the movie with you, so I don't know. Also, it is more of a thing that is happening with, like, NASA and space travel and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's the thing. Like, I know, like, leg prosthetics exist. I don't think a lot of them are robot-powered right now,
and they don't
right?
need to be.
Yeah,
the technology that exists is great. Maybe one day we'll have cool robot legs, but get out of here, Science Jim. You're not helping anybody.
Thank you, Science Jim. So the boyfriend, again, can't really tell if he's the boyfriend or not. Jared, he shows up with a whole ass bouquet of blue flowers.
Oh, those flowers are
again,
so blue.
so strange.
They were so blue.
And so instantly she's like, "Oh, so you were Aubrey's boyfriend, right? Okay, cool." So he, first of all, she's like, "I'm not Aubrey, I'm Dakota." And he starts crying and then instantly goes to just start making out with her.
Instantly.
And then
she didn't say a word.
No. And then she starts kissing him back. I'm like, okay, cool. So the movie got horny again all of a sudden.
And then she bites his lip.
And she's like, would Aubrey ever do that?
Kiss you
and then
like
she,
that?
like, the mom walks in on the kissing. She's like, oh, I'm so sorry. And Aubrey's like, Dakota goes, we're gonna go upstairs now. And just goes and has sex with the guy. Again, a very long sequence.
World's longest sex scene. But I will say, what I will say
Okay.
is it was kind of funny.
It was kind of, but again, like I don't feel like it intended to be funny because we get this very long sex scene with the two of them upstairs and the mom looking very uncomfortable, waiting for the two of them downstairs in the kitchen because she can hear it all through the walls, and it just keeps cutting back and forth.
I think my favorite thing about this is they gave this mom no direction.
No.
So it was like. Imagine going to like a really, really low budget community theater production, and on one half of the stage you have this mom standing in a sink, not knowing what to do with her body, and on the other side you have this really uncomfortable sex scene, and the mom is just doing whatever she can to like make it look like she's doing something. So she like grabs a sponge.
They didn't give her any stage business. And she's like furiously scrubbing like the kitchen counter, and she turns on the sink so it makes more noise to cover it up.
I loved it.
It was like
I thought it was so funny.
Weirdly comedic. I don't think it should have been, but like
no, it was good.
It was just a weird sequence to show like
the sex was awful though.
Yeah, no, it was so weird, and it was just like a very weird sequence just for her to prove to the guy that she was Dakota and not Aubrey, because she's like, did Aubrey ever have sex with you like that? Did she ever have sex with you at all? And he's like, well, no. It's so strange. But then later she's in the shower, and as she's in the shower, she's looking at her hand, and the middle finger of her hand starts turning all blue and like gross pussiness, and then it just splits in half, I think, and like down the middle of it. It's like ooze pouring out of it. Very strange sequence. And then we get a flashback of her at the gentleman's club, right? And I was like, great, we're probably going to be here for way too long. And we kind of were. But then we we see the sequence where she was, what did you say? Sensually dropping down the pole? Something like that, yeah.
I don't know.
And when she's doing that, her hand starts to bleed. So that wasn't like some weird dream sequence. That was really happening.
That really happened.
So yeah, what had happened was while she was at the thing, she goes backstage and takes off her glove. Her whole finger just falls off.
Yeah, dude.
No rhyme or reason. The whole thing just comes off.
Yep.
Okay. Cool. Awesome.
That's fun.
So then we're back to the present, and she's like, hey, Jared, I need your help to get me out of here. So he runs outside, and he's getting in his car, looking all around. He goes up to the FBI agents who are all around her house now. They're like, hey, can any of you guys get me a rubber? You have a condom? Come on, man, I need it. So what he does is he then is like, oh, screw you guys. He goes inside the house, steals one of the family's cars, and as he's racing out, the guy's like, hey, man, I can't let you go. He's like, come on, man, please, I'm going to get laid. You got to let me go. And he's like, all right, fine, whatever. And so he gets out, and we find out this was all a ploy for him to be able to get Lindsay Lohan out of the house.
Yep.
And he drove her to the house of the previous victim, the Jennifer Tolman, right?
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, it makes sense now. It was kind of convoluted to begin with.
It didn't make much sense.
I was like, what's happening? What is this weird slapstick bit for this dude to get laid? He just got laid.
Also, I didn't understand why she went there. And it wasn't even established that she was going there or was there.
Yeah, exactly.
We pieced it together.
She was just at some house, and then we find out because she's inside, and the mom kind of yells at her about, like, you still have a life, our daughter's is gone. She cries and runs away. It's like, okay. So she's at the murder victim's house now. Okay. So I guess she's trying to get clues for stuff.
I guess.
So what she finds is when she's in there, she finds a music trophy. I'm like, oh, okay, maybe the piano teacher from the beginning did this. That could make sense, because he's another one. That was really all I could muster from this.
I mean, it was like the only thing that was two things together, right?
Yeah.
Everything else was just like one idea.
So meanwhile, it seems like we've got confirmation on Aubrey is actually living the life of her made-up character Dakota, because the FBI took her computer and find literally just one big file that on the very top of it in bold words just says Dakota. And it's basically the entire life story of this character, right? So okay, so I guess we're not going the twin angle, we're going with the DID story, right? Okay, cool. I guess. So then, Aubrey is there was a weird sequence I don't even know is worth mentioning. After Dakota left the strip club with her hand all bloodied up, right? She's on the bus, and this weird dude is talking to her, right?
Yeah.
And he's like,
so weird.
like, what does he say? Everyone gets cut. That's just life, or something like that, right?
Everybody gets cut.
But then she
That's life.
I can't tell if she's at her house or at his house. And there's a weird dream sequence where like he's talking to her. He takes off his shirt and his tattoo starts moving. As again, he's talking about like everybody gets cuts. That's just life. But I thought it was worth mentioning because there was a super weird effect where slowly on his chest these cuts start appearing, and the CGI on this looked bad.
It was so bad.
But so there are these cuts that start appearing on his chest, and then an eyeball looks through it. And then slowly starts to like push its face through his chest, and then that's it. It was such a weird departure from the rest of the movie. It made absolutely no sense. Some weird fever dream kind of stuff. But then Dakota starts to look into this, right? It's like, okay, let's try to find out a little bit more about this. So she goes to Aubrey's computer. She's like, oh no, it's password protected. What am I going to do? Guess what? It's her own name. It's Dakota's name is the password to Aubrey's computer. a little weird. But then as she's trying to look up, like, what does she look up? Like weird bleeding, no explanation.
That was literally what she
And she starts learning about this stuff. But before she really finds out a lot about it, we find Walmart brand Twilight Zone going on, where this guy's in the middle of the screen with a space background. There's these weird shapes going past him. It totally felt like complete rip-off of the Twilight Zone kind of vibe.
Yeah, it was
But he's
wild.
talking about this thing called stigmata, right? And I'm sure Science Jim will tell us all about this. About, like, basically these... there could be a twin, and you will feel the same pains as they feel, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, does Science Jim want to take us away on stigmata? Oh, come on in, welcome back.
Knock.
You can come in.
Oh, yes, hello. I'm back, and my voice has slightly changed, but it's going to do for the
Always, it always does.
So, yes, in my research on stigmatas, so it's actually a Christian thing, and it is anytime you have bodily marks, scars, or pain corresponding to those that Christ had, say, like, stabs in the side or pains in the hands.
Right.
It is mean to be this person is accompanied by some religious ecstasy, or they may temporarily or permanently have some of these wounds. And so this film is attempting to take that idea and make it between two twins that are experiencing the same pains together at the same time, when in reality it is more of a Christian idea that there is, if you are the highest spiritual, then you will feel the pain that Christ felt.
But I can side with this solely because, like, I've known a couple twins in my life, and if you know twins, you know weird things happen with them. I specifically remember this girl I was dating, she had these two twin brothers, and there was one night where one of them had to go to the hospital, and the other one stayed back home, right? And when they got back home, the brother who stayed home was telling the mom about everything that happened to the twin that was at the hospital. So he knew in some dream state somehow everything that happened to them. And the mom was there too, so she knew his word was correct. And so twins are strange. So I kind of enjoy this connection between, like, you know, like the twins feeling each other's pain, feeling that kind of stuff, and connecting through this deep, right?
I had called this like 30 minutes before.
Yeah, you definitely were like, this is going to be
I was on that train.
For sure, right?
And I mean, I think it's cool too. It freaks me out a little bit.
Yeah, it's
so
spooky
like
for sure.
That thought that your brain is that connected with another human being.
Yes.
Like,
it's spooky.
And that's something that, like, isn't necessarily our podcast to talk about, but
it's supernatural.
But it's something that I think is, like, kind of realistic. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, now, never to this extent where, like, if your hand gets cut off, your twin is also going to have their hand.
That is where they lost me, right? Because I'm
off.
like, okay, so hold on. I'm just to believe that for some random reason, her whole leg was missing, right?
Yeah.
I can get, like, you know, if you get hurt, like, oh, I feel that pain. You know, I can feel like, you know, I can feel it in my shoulder, even if you break something and they don't. I could not buy. That's where it goes a little too far-fetched for me, when it's like you lose a whole limb. What?
And the example they showed in the movie, in that, like, Twilight Zone thing, was that guy getting shot in the throat.
Oh,
and then his twin brother, like,
was, like, bleeding
a state
from
over.
that, right?
No, he died.
Oh, he died.
He died around the same time.
And he had, like, a wound.
Yeah, he
in
had
same
the
spot.
bullet wound in the neck that was the same, but he didn't get shot.
So very strange. So at this point, Dakota gets pretty smart, and she's like, okay, hold on. So I think what's actually happening is we are two different people, and we're experiencing this, right? So I think the real Aubrey is actually stuck somewhere, still being
she's
tortured for the
definitely
guy.
still being tortured.
And you clung to this thing they were talking about at the beginning. The FBI people mentioned how it was kind of weird how she was let go so soon.
Yeah.
Because the Jennifer Tolman character was released, was found after, like, how
it was
long?
like a couple months or
Yeah, it was
something.
a long period of time, and she was only kept
released
for like 17, 18 days.
And I clung onto this because I thought it was funny, because the FBI's like, what do you mean she's back so soon? She's been gone only 18 days. I'm like, only 18 days?
Yeah, like, that's not a long time. That's crazy. But, so she's clinging to this. Okay, so now it makes sense. Like, okay, so maybe she is still with the killer, right? So maybe she is actually two different people, right? So she goes to the mom, and she's like, hey, I think I was actually a twin. And then the mom pulls out this video of her, like, ultrasound.
She definitely just had the ultrasound
Which,
on
I don't
hand.
know. Maybe moms hold on to these things. My mom did not. Maybe a picture of the ultrasound, but, like, not the video footage of it, right?
Of this little fetus swimming around.
Yeah, but so she's like, no, you were a single child. There's no way. But then the dad is lurking in the background.
Oh my gosh.
Looking
he's so
very
creepy.
suspicious at this point. I'm like, okay, clearly either the dad is the killer or he had something to do with his twin missing. There has to be something going on here.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I was at this point, I'm like, okay, so if they really are twins, then this really is just some gritty reboot of The Parent Trap, right? Because again, Lindsay Lohan playing twins, so this is just like the serial killer trap, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
To catch a serial killer. It was really funny to me. But like, yeah, so this is like almost the third time she's played two characters, right? Because it's like, there's The Parent Trap, there's this one, and you could almost count Freaky Friday for playing herself and the mom, right?
Absolutely.
That totally tracks,
Lindsay Lohan is
definitely suffering from DID.
I was just about to say, you think Lindsay Lohan's
I think so.
okay?
I don't think she's doing okay.
But yeah, so at this point, it really kind of becomes the serial killer trap because, like, she's trying to use these images and things she's seeing through her twin now to try to capture this dude and find this twin that she knows nothing about. But she's like, clearly she's in danger. We should probably see this, right? Speaking of seeing images, there's a really weird sequence where she's in her room and she gets a flash of her twin Aubrey on her knees on the ground getting hit over the head with like a shovel.
Yeah.
And she gets knocked over too in like her bedroom, right? Mm-hmm. And then as she's like kind of in her like, oh, what just happened to me? In her weird state, she looks at the mirror in her bedroom and it gets all foggy and suddenly she can see where her twin is being killed through the foggy mirror.
Yeah, and she sees her twin being buried.
This is a weird effect for me. I didn't like
strange.
it. It was so strange.
Well, then it transitions into it like all of a sudden these blue petals from those flowers
from the bouquet that Jared brought her start wilting.
And then they start flying into the mirror. Yes. And then the camera follows the
and it transitions to the location of the murder.
Yeah.
It was very strange to me. I'm like, it was
dumb.
Probably a better idea written down than it actually ended up being, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So then she's like, okay, so I know for sure that there's a twin and we need to find her. So she goes to the dad and is like so certain the dad knows about the twin, and she brings up something that we must have missed. Both of us missed this plot. But she says she found letters that had the address of like where her mom lived, right? So she's like, so clearly you sent one daughter away to the shitty house so she could have a terrible life. So I found the money you were sending her. Basically, I saw like the postage for it.
Oh wait,
right?
I do remember that happening. It was like at the very beginning when we're finding out about her backstory.
I think so. I remember her looking at a
and
letter.
I remember her pulling the money out.
So maybe that's what it was, yeah. But we totally missed this. So like she's calling him out saying, you were sending her letters. I know you can't lie to me about the twin. And she's kind of cool about it. She's like, listen, I don't give a shit about the fact that you left me for a terrible life that I lived, right? It's like, we need to find this girl, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And he's in denial of it until she's like, I can't go through with this, you know? I can't lose all of this, you know, my life if I confess to this, right? She's like, whatever, I don't care, let's go find her. And so the two of them go to catch the killer, right? Yeah. And so she runs off to, actually, they don't go together. She leaves first. To go to the grave site where at first she's at the graveyard and it's Aubrey. It's her grave. She's like, oh no. And then in a flash of lightning, it changes to Jennifer Tolman's grave, right?
So stupid.
Very strange. Also, one of the flashbacks we find out, or not one of the flashbacks, the present flash, I guess, where we see the killer burying Aubrey. He's burying her in a blue glass coffin.
Because of course.
Yeah, it was a little much for me. But again, I'm like, okay, I've got no clues thus far as to who in this movie is a glass blower and create these things, right?
Nothing.
No idea, right? But so she looks on the grave, right? And there's a ribbon, and it's for the young writers award or whatever, right? The same thing she was up for at the beginning of the movie that the piano teacher was upset about her for trying to quit, right? So she reads on the back of it, and it says something like, blue ribbons are for winners, never settle for red. And again, with this fucking blue and red
nonsense.
thing. This is blue versus red nonsense all over the place, right?
So stupid.
And so it's like, okay, so at this point we have pieced together, it's gotta be the piano teacher, right? And also, something that I didn't notice that I was reading through when I was looking at trivia after the fact, there were actually some like, actually kind of subtle nods to that, right? So the facts are, the two limbs that were cut off from these victims that were matching is the arm and the leg, right? Yeah. Which are both used to play the piano, right? Which, hand, that's pretty obvious to me, right? Like the metatarsals as well, but also the foot, you need the right foot to move the pedal, right?
And it did show the pedal at the beginning.
There were a couple establishing shots of that, right? But then also the strip club that she worked at, did you notice there was the neon sign of the girl on the front of it? Mm-mm. There were parts of it that were flashing in and out, and it was the right arm and the right leg, which I thought was kind of neat. I'm like, I didn't even notice that.
Okay, but
that's so strange to me.
So that's fun and all, but what does that have to do with anything?
No, nothing. It's just like those are the limbs that went missing. But anyway, so yeah, at this point we're like, okay, so this is definitely the piano teacher, right? It's gotta be the case.
Yeah.
So then dad shows up at the grave. He's like, hey, listen, I'm here to help. Let's go get this guy, right? Mm-hmm. And she shows him the ribbon. He's like, that fucker, it's totally him. Let's go. So I guess they go to his house, right? They're at the scene of the crime. Which is funny because I don't think they know where Aubrey is buried. She's like on the drive up there. She's like hyperventilating. She's like, she's buried alive. I can't breathe. Like, cause now she's really feeling the same effects as her. But like, I swear when the blue petals went through the mirror and everything, she was like by a stream of water.
Yeah, there was definitely water.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, you were not anywhere near where she was buried, right?
No, not at all.
But so they're going into the house. I'm like, she's buried alive. Why are you going into this house? That's so strange.
So weird.
So she sneaks down into the basement, and as she's down there, she finds a piece of blue glass, right? That could be used as a weapon. And then as she's trying to walk through a door, one of the blue gloved hands of clearly the killer reaches out and tries to get her. And she like catches it between the door. And there is a quite long sequence of her slicing through the wrist of this dude to cut his hand off, which like, understandably, in real world time, that would take a long time to cut through somebody's hand with that. But it was like weirdly a long sequence of him just
not need to watch
screaming at the top of his lungs as his hand is getting severed through. But she does it. She successfully gets him through and he runs away, right? Mm-hmm. So Dad's upstairs somewhere and she's down in the basement, right? And there's actually a pretty cool, creepy set where she walks into this dude's killer basement and there are just prosthetic legs hanging all over the place.
So this guy's definitely got a crazy foot thing.
Yeah, weird thing going on there. And it was just like, kind of interesting. I don't understand why he has all these prosthetics and where he would get all of these prosthetics. Because it's like, I would understand if he went for like amputee people and that was like the kind of person he killed, but he's the reason they have missing limbs. So he wouldn't be able to, he couldn't take limbs from them. Or he couldn't take the prosthetics, right?
I think he was just kinky.
Yeah, it was just really strange to me why he had all of these, right? But I thought the set looked really spooky. I liked it.
It was creepy. Yeah, it was cool.
And then she gets to like the surgery table where he's been killing all these people. And then her dad is just there under the tarp. And he's just like kind of like, I'm sorry. Is that you, Aubrey? I love you.
Dead.
And then he dies. It's like,
how did you die?
Okay, how did you die? We didn't see any of that happen.
Why did you die?
Where
did you die?
Pretty lackluster death, honestly. He was just on the table and he was just dead all of a sudden, right?
It was so stupid.
But yeah, so then the killer kind of catches her and then knocks her out, right?
Yep.
And then he's upstairs playing the piano, bonking on it with one hand. Guess what? It sure is the piano guy.
The piano teacher.
When it was kind of funny to me. I think another like nod to the fact that it was him in the first place is he goes, watch this hand, right? At the very beginning, he was an asshole about that, then playing the piano. See, easy, right? She cut off that hand. So like, I guess she did watch that hand.
So even though this didn't make any sense and it was really dumb, I actually really liked the part where he's trying to play the piano.
Yeah. He just sat there in his stupor, his hands on ice, and he's just sitting there thumping on the piano with his left hand.
Like, if I lost the ability to play, like, trumpet, or if I lost the ability to sing, I would probably go into some sort of crazy frenzy where I tried to do those things.
I mean, it's like the Banshees of Inisherin, right? He cuts off his fingers. Sorry, spoiler alert for that one.
Oof.
It's not that much of a spoiler.
That's a huge spoiler!
Is it? I don't know. Whatever. You've all seen the movie.
Don't get me started on that movie. I love the movie.
But yeah, same deal, right? He cuts off his fingers and is still trying to play his instrument, right? Which, like, you cannot play a violin with no fingers, right?
But it's the same situation, right? Like,
yeah. So I thought it was kind of a cool thing. But at this point, I'm still like, when was I ever supposed to piece together that this guy is like also a glass blower in his free time?
Yeah. Yeah, the glass blowing, like, that made no sense.
I'm down for a serial killer who crafts his own cool, neat-looking
weapons.
That was neat to me. But it felt like it was kind of just shoved in on this guy, right? So it's
literally.
Like, he's a serial killer, he's a glass blower, he's a piano teacher, he's an asshole.
He wears
every hat. He has foot fetish.
He keeps all of the prosthetics. He cuts off the right hand and the right leg.
So
he buries them in a dress, like a white dress.
That was another thing I thought about just barely.
Coffin.
Why does he bury them in this white, like,
he buries
wedding
them
dress?
in their backyard?
It's so weird to me.
He has, like, every single serial killer trope,
he's wearing
and none of them make any sense.
way too many hats, and it didn't make much sense to me. It was just so strange. But yeah, so then... so she's tied up down in the basement and she ends up getting her hands on one of his cool, like, handmade weapons, right?
Yeah.
To get herself free. And he's talking to her. He clearly doesn't know they're twins. He's like, I killed you. I buried you. You should not be alive. Then he goes to swing at her and she gets away and then they kind of have this fight to like this, like, Nintendo Zelda, like, Breath of the Wild kind of combat music. It was so strange. But he's like really plunky piano bits,
which kind of fit because he was like a crazy piano guy. And,
yeah, it kind of worked, but maybe it just took me out of it because I know the music in Breath of the Wild. And
it did sound way. I mean, at the exact same time, we looked at each other. And
both of us went that way. But yeah, she gets him pretty good. She stabs him like in the crotch and then right in the neck. It was pretty good.
It was brutal.
That's the way to do it. And then he kind of just like walks away a couple steps and he's forlornly looking at all his limbs and then he just falls over and he's dead. It's like, cool, all right, you got him.
All right,
it was like. I don't know, it wasn't necessarily anticlimactic, but not quite climactic enough.
No, the end of this movie is just super boring. I don't know.
From here on, definitely. Because now she suddenly knows where she's buried, I thought. Then it turns out I think she's actually just digging random holes in his backyard.
But then she sees the owl that she saw in her weird
That was another
mirror
thing she saw in the
vision.
mirror, yeah. So then the owl helps her figure it out, right? And then she smashes through because at first I was like, okay, cool. I hope she doesn't smash that coffin with her shovel, right?
That's right.
But then she does it. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So she made it. But then she her robot hand, the mechanics in it start whirring, and then she just smashes straight through it.
She
I'm
Hulk
like,
smashes that.
are you not worried about the glass piercing your sister who's right underneath that?
What would have been cool is if she did that and then her own face got covered in scars because she was like,
oh yeah,
your twin.
that honestly would have been more
That didn't
interesting,
happen.
right? But so she breaks her sister out of the coffin. There's the two of them lying next to each other, and then they're just gonna take a nap, and that's the movie.
They literally cuddle next to the coffin.
Yeah.
She doesn't need to be rushed to the hospital, even though she was just running very low on
Like this
oxygen.
girl's been tortured. She's low on
missing
oxygen.
limbs. Like, take her somewhere.
Crazy to me, right?
But no, they didn't have the budget for that, or the actress.
Yeah. So which we can get into later. So yeah, that was that movie.
Yeah, so in that movie, I think we had like 5 jump scares. Oh, the thing I was going to talk about. So
Yes.
you know the part where like he's like reappearing?
Yeah.
I think that was an attempt to show her mind being connected to her twins, right? I think that was showing when she was kidnapped.
Okay, so he wasn't actually there.
He wasn't actually there. It was like
Okay.
her mind crossing with the other mind.
That's pretty cool. No, I dig
And
that.
I really like that idea.
Yeah.
That was probably one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie. Anyway,
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm trying to make more sense of it, but so in this movie we had like 5 jump scares.
Yeah, honestly, not as many jump scares as I was expecting. I feel like I go into these 2000s horror movies like feeling like most of them really lean heavily on the jump scares, right? That was like a whole thing. The jump scares and the really rough music that doesn't fit in, right?
And then we had 3 deaths.
3 deaths, yeah.
One off camera.
Yeah, exactly.
2
We
off
had the girl
camera.
who screamed with the thump in her head, the Jennifer Tolman.
1
and then
on camera.
Dad dies for some reason. Again, really lackluster death, and then the death of the actual killer by the end of it.
3, 1 that we actually saw. So your expectations?
Yeah, let's cover our expectations, right? So I thought it was going to be a risque role departing Lindsay Lohan from Disney, and wholeheartedly, yes.
Absolutely.
She was a stripper, she said fuck, she cut off a
shoved
guy's hand.
cigarette up her vagina.
Yeah, like this is definitely... And like... It honestly, it wasn't as jarring as I thought it was going to be. I really thought they were going to be way more down my throat about it, but it seemed
thought it was going to be worse.
It felt like it fit for the movie. I honestly wasn't that bothered by it. But yeah, definitely very different from her previous work. You know, definitely this ain't no Herbie Fully Loaded.
Why not?
You want to see that movie? You want to see Lindsay Lohan have sex with a car?
Well.
Moving on. I thought the dad probably did it. By now, you know I was way off, and but he was hiding a secret because he was hiding the secret.
Yeah,
about
he
the
was
twins.
Definitely like guilty.
And another thing is that never really ended up going anywhere about the whole like him hiding a twin. I don't know why he did that in the first place.
No, it didn't make any sense. Nor
Did he just not want to have 2 kids? I don't understand.
It also didn't make any sense because the mom was like, I fell down and then all of a sudden I could see my baby now. And
yeah, she was like
it
lying on her back. It was a
so stupid.
strange, weird thing that ended up kind of going nowhere. Also, at some point, the FBI agents just fucked off.
Oh, wait, yeah, hold on.
And went nowhere.
They just stopped being in the
Yeah,
movie.
they were being assholes in the beginning. Then they found out, oh no, she's actually living this double life because she wrote about this. And then we never saw them again.
Yeah.
It was so strange. They were just useless after that point. It was strange to me. So anyway, I said I will see nothing that I didn't see in the trailer, and I mean pretty much. All that was kept from us was the truth of them being twins and who did the murders. Basically, was all there was. I said sorry. I promised I wasn't going to cough this whole time.
You've done so well. Sam.
I've done so good. I said maybe a good performance from Lindsay Lohan, and honestly, not terrible. I still felt like it was a Disney actor trying to go for the adult roles, but like not as bad as I was kind of anticipating. So honestly, good on you, Lohan. Pretty decent. And then just lots of crazy lights and quick cuts. Really not that much, actually. I thought it was going to be way worse than that for a 2000s horror movie, right?
The
really
blue
wasn't that
camera,
much of a problem.
the blue lights and everything really just took all that.
That's kind of what took its place, right? As far as surprises go, I thought it was actually a pretty clever and seemingly original idea and plot for a movie. Like the whole separated twins with the stigmata thing was actually kind of a fun premise for a movie, especially like using that as a means to like catch the killer. I thought that was honestly really neat.
Yeah, I was into it.
I don't feel like it was, executed quite as well, but I thought it was a really neat effect. So then, also in surprises, I thought some of the effects worked really well.
Oh, yeah.
There was some, like, that weird dude with the cuts in his chest and the eye coming through it was garbage, dog shit. But, like, her stumped leg and all that kind of stuff, the kills, the gore on, like, the hand coming up, even the gore of cutting his hand off.
We didn't talk about, there's also a scene where you see her put her severed finger on the table.
That's right. Derek had to look away.
I could not look.
I had to tell him.
Do you know why I had to look away?
Because it was long.
Because I was eating purple chips. It was a purple freaking finger.
Yeah, it was pretty rough.
So yeah, she takes her purple dismembered
finger?
or severed. That's
severed.
What it
There
was.
we go.
Severed finger, and she puts it on a table, duct tapes it down, and then proceeds to try and reattach it with a fish hook.
They show a lot of her sewing between the hand and the finger. It was way more than I was expecting them to go. And actually, to that effect, my final surprise was that they showed way more gore than I was expecting at the start. Like, certainly nothing compared to other horror movies, but like way more than I thought this movie was going to give me. But I was here for it, and it was actually pretty good. A lot of the gore in it was well done. So yeah, no problem there.
The only time it was an issue was when it was CGI.
Yeah, honestly, and some of it wasn't that great. So what about you? What were your expectations?
Real bad parent acting, and I just said, well, yeah.
Yeah,
just definitely. Unfortunately, the mom of the first girl who got murdered, that was like some of the weakest acting I've ever seen. And it's like, it's sad because you want to feel something for him, but you can't.
No.
Lindsay Lohan taking the entire budget. Her and her prosthetics, absolutely.
Probably.
Like for her stumps, I think definitely.
I am still so sad that they got rid of either the stump or the robot hand.
Oh yeah, it was so sad. Far-fetched twist that will be spoiled in the trailer. I mean, yeah, it was hard to be spoiled about. It was hard to be surprised about anything.
Yeah, because it kind of gave us everything.
It gave us everything in the trailer, but also it gave us so much that by the time something actually was resolved, it was like, okay, it could have been that or like 20 other things. So like, there's no surprise. Early 2000s music that is too much, and I said, yeah, man, yeah.
Really?
Actually, I didn't bother me that much.
I didn't really notice too much. Like I think when I think like early 2000s bad music in a horror movie, it's a lot of like R&B music that just doesn't fit the vibe
that's true.
of
this
horror.
This one was just like a lot of heavy metal when she was a rocker, and then nothing else the rest of the movie.
There's that one song you remembered from like Rock Band or something like that, or Guitar Hero.
It was Guitar Hero 2. It was that song by Freya.
Yep.
I don't remember what it was called.
Something.
And then cheap, intense scares. Kind of. I felt like the movie was like half a thriller and half a horror movie, and then at times they'd be like, oh crap, this is a horror movie. Let me shove a bunch of horror elements in. It definitely felt the way.
Like, yes, I know it is technically both. It is a thriller and a horror, but like there were sometimes I think that you're right, they forgot it was a horror movie as well. And I definitely had to get back there.
I definitely think they wanted it to be a horror movie. Yes. Right? But they just kept forgetting.
And I think it still came through as a horror by the end of it,
absolutely.
Right?
I would call it horror.
Yeah.
What are your surprises?
I gave mine.
You already did?
Yeah. What are yours?
I heard them. I remember what your
surprises were. Were you surprised that I gave my surprises already?
My surprise, I actually do remember. That was like 20 minutes ago. The prosthetics. Yeah. I agree. The story, it wasn't great by any means, but I did enjoy the premise. That was very cool. And that's basically it.
Yeah, shall we talk our verdicts for this one?
Yeah, my verdict, definitely boreable. And I stopped writing my note. I just wrote too much. I think for me, it was just boring, right? Like there was a lot going on and too much going on. The shots were too long. It felt like they had a screenplay written for a 40-minute movie and they just dragged it all out with too much of everything else.
I think this is the first time we have actually had a clear, like, 100% divide on a movie. Because for me, I actually said it was horrible.
Really?
Yeah, I said, while it was not executed in the best ways, I thought it was a neat idea that did keep me pretty engaged throughout. Like, I agree with a lot of what you're saying. There was a lot of, like, boringness to it, not a lot of high tension, high action scenes, and those scenes were pretty short for me. But like, I don't know, I just think maybe the premise alone was just like such a neat enough idea for me to be like, I kind of like this. Yeah. What's up?
I'm crying.
Why are you crying?
We finally disagree.
We finally disagree.
I'm so happy.
We're a real podcast now.
I'm not going to change it either.
Yeah.
I feel good about that.
But no, me too. And I think that's great. I think that's what's awesome about this and like this podcast we do, right? It's like, we kind of look for these kind of things, right? It's like, where can these things differ and different things work for different people?
It's funny because I felt like this movie, I'm more into like the true crimey nature of thrillers and horror movies and stuff. And this was my choice. I wanted to watch this movie and I walked away from it hating it. Yeah. And you're here like,
I'm like, no, it was pretty good. I thought I had a pretty good time. I didn't have that many issues with it.
It was no American Werewolf in Paris. So
blah blah.
Oh my god, there he is.
It is me. I am.
What's up, dog?
I am the red Count Trivia.
Oh.
I am the evil one, and I work the pole on my weekends.
On your weekend. So wait, if I stab you. I just stabbed Count Trivia. Do you think
I feel nothing, but I assume he does over there.
Oh god! So only Count Bluvia?
What was that? What the fuck? I feel no pain. It is the red in me. It's that's how it works. It
only
transfers.
Bluvia.
Would you like your trivia?
Yes, please.
Okay,
Give it
here
to
it is.
Isaac. Get out of here.
Okay, so this is something that Derek was kind of alluding to towards the end there. Lindsay Lohan's legal issues became a problem during filming. Some days she showed up late, some days she didn't show up at all. So while filming the climax and the reshoots of this movie, Chris Sivertson, I don't know, how do you pronounce his name?
I don't know.
Whatever his name, the director, he used a body double and digitally replaced her face with Lindsay Lohan's face for the last days she wasn't on set.
Insane.
Kind of wild to me. And furthermore on that, filming stopped after less than a week when Lindsay Lohan's appendix was removed, actually.
What?
Yeah, the incision got infected, and Lohan entered rehab for the first time. So yeah, kind of strange the way that happened. So yeah, film finally resumed in like February of 2007. Because of her negative reputation, Lindsay Lohan could not even walk to her trailer without the paparazzi photographing her.
Oh my
which is
God.
funny because sometimes they would even end up in the background of some shots of the film.
Really?
That's how on it they were.
That's incredible.
It's like it was that bad they could not keep them off set, which is so crazy to me.
I love that.
So despite failing at the box office, the film was surprisingly successful on home video. So the DVD and Blu-ray were released on November of 2007, and by January, the film had made over 11 million in home video sales. Yeah. So by the end of its run, the film had grossed over 28 million in DVD and Blu-ray sales alone. Isn't that crazy?
That's insane.
Yeah.
That must not have been in my, like in the budgets that I was
Right,
looking
that's what I was thinking too. I'm like, oh, that's interesting to me.
No, top your head.
So, in 2019, in an interview in 2019, Sivertson revealed the existence of a 3.5 hour director's cut if it could get released.
My
Disclosing
God.
to a lot of people, it doesn't make sense. I'm like, oh, you could say that.
Well, yeah.
And there were a lot of plot scenes, especially a lot of investigative FBI stuff that were just totally cut out of the movie, which makes sense why they just disappeared all of a sudden. So he was more interested at the time with just the weirdness of it all, which is so funny to me. Which is funny because in the trivia I read, a lot of it said he said he lists a lot of his like inspirations from like David Lynch.
Oh, good.
Which makes sense because funny enough, the strip club in the beginning and all the red of it kind of could remind me of like the Velvet Room.
That was
kind of
Twin
stuff.
Peaksy.
A little bit.
I
right?
felt that at the beginning too.
I don't feel like he did
Especially
a
the
very
weird music.
Yeah, I don't feel like he did a very good job at that, but I think it's kind of neat.
I like the movie more now.
Yeah, but then finally here, the screenwriter, Jeff Hammond, he talked about how he came up with the film's idea and the concept of psychic twins, saying, "After school one day when I was very young, some kids from the local high school got stuck in a stalled car on the railroad tracks. In the car, there were 2 high school boys and their girlfriends. There was a train coming," which is, this shit only happens in movies, but I guess not. "The car was directly in its path, and the driver and the 2 girls made it out of the car, but the boy in the back seat got trapped.
Oh no.
It was a coupe and a tight squeeze, and somehow he got his foot caught under the front seat. The train hit the car with him still half in it. So this boy had an identical twin who was elsewhere that day, but the twin felt that something was wrong, like catastrophically wrong. And he became convinced when this sense of dread didn't pass that his brother had died. The story that got passed around was that he felt his brother die at the exact moment of his death." And he says he was like 12 or 11 years old when he heard that, and so that story haunted him for like
So his
the rest
brother
of his
did
life.
die?
Yeah, I think that is what happened. So he like felt the moment that he died. Again, I don't think this happened to the director. It was like a story he heard, but like that's still hearing that story would haunt me for sure.
I mean, yeah, that's creepy.
So again, that's why I'm like, I guess that like I feel like a lot of these stories come across and they're much more interesting when it's like something that truly does scare a person in real life.
yeah,
right?
I think so too.
It's not just like that sounds kind of spooky. It's like, no, this thing haunted me from my childhood.
I mean, okay, to get a little weird here, like
we've never got weird on this podcast.
No, never.
Let's start now.
I specifically remember waking up 20 minutes before my brother died.
Whoa.
And I remember how I felt.
Oh, that's spooky.
Like, and so like to get deep, like
Yeah.
really though. And so I think that if I was a twin
Yes.
with my brother,
Even
you have
more
even
so,
more
right?
of a strong connection.
That's crazy to think about, right? Because even you just being his brother, being related to him, you could feel something like that, right?
I knew it. Like I
Yeah.
remember laying there staring at my ceiling, and then I got the call from my mom,
Oh,
and
man.
I knew it. Like,
Oof.
and it didn't help that I knew he was dying.
Yeah.
right too. But like at the same time,
But
it's
you
like
could feel that.
you can feel it.
So like imagine if you were twins and you had that kind of like twin connection.
yeah, I mean it's literally a part of your soul being severed away.
Twin tuition, that's what they call it.
Twin
I was like this.
tuition?
Yeah, I was like, I've heard a term for this before. when twins like know the
insane.
same things as each other.
So anyway,
But yeah, so that was
very cool.
our podcast. That was I Know Who Killed Me from 2007. Next week was my turn.
Hey, wait.
Yeah.
So,
I'm so
I think I'll
excited.
get in trouble if I call this episode "I Know Who Blew Me."
I think maybe a little bit.
I mean, I don't know who I'm gonna get in trouble with, but I don't know if people are
Your
gonna.
parents? I don't know.
My mom's gonna call me and be like, "Derek."
Now, Derek, this was not an appropriate
So,
name.
if you made it this far in the episode, which I hope you did because I love you very much, the episode title is actually "I Know Who Blew Me," but "blue" is spelled BLUE.
LUE, right? If we don't end up naming that, you know the truth.
You know the truth.
The man got to us and
were
silenced us.
Yeah, jerks.
We can't
anyway,
be silenced.
What are we watching next week,
So
guys?
next week, actually, funny enough, there's this Twitter account that I follow, which I'll have to plug next time because I can't remember off the top of my head. But they post a lot of like very weird, like out there, like old school, like 80s and back horror movies that have like strange, weird effects and just like they're usually not that great. Some of them are really good, like, but usually when they post about a movie, I'll like look it up to see if it can fit on our podcast. So funny enough, there was a movie on there that I was interested in looking at, and then Emily's friend Angel, actually,
Yep.
she also recommended we watch this movie. So it is called Class of Nukem High from 1986. And fellas, it looks like a crazy
it looks
time.
very bonkers.
Yeah, I was watching the trailer. Derek came into like the tail end of the trailer, and you can say it looks pretty bonkers.
It looks
right?
insane. I'm ready. I'm
Yeah,
excited.
I think you're in for a very good time. Yeah, and so I think you should tune in on that one. Oh no!
What's happening?
It's me. It's the Red Isaac, and I'm here to end this podcast.
Hi, baby.
Hello.
How you doing?
He has a
Don't-
knife.
Don't touch me, or I'll cut the hand off. Tune in next week to find the Blue Isaac, and maybe he'll be all right.
I know who blew me.
Goodbye.